Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. Welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. We've got a cracker of a game here for you today. Once again, because it hasn't been that long since we last featured him. Starring everybody's favourite Austrian whose name you are actually allowed to say on YouTube. It's Trenlas again, and he's in the Radar Minotaur again. There's actually a bit of a backstory to today's video. On his Twitch live stream, his audience had challenged him to play the Radar Minotaur until he lost a battle. Oh, and he wasn't allowed to division up with anybody either. To make life easier for him and compensate for the Radar Minotaur's deficiencies, he had to do them all solo. Well, 18 battles later, basically the entirety of the stream, he finally lost a battle in this ship. This was not one of them. He had some pretty good games, and this one was probably the best, as I'm sure you'll agree by the time we get to the end of the video. So before we get started, quick look at the matchmaking, and yep, Wargaming, they're up to their old tricks again, although they haven't sneaked in an extra carrier onto the enemy team in the shape of a hybrid. There is one carrier in play, but they're only tier 8. The enemy team has a Karga, Trenlas' team has a Theseus. But what the matchmaker has done, well, it's given the enemy team 2 radars. 2 ships that definitely 100% have radars. They have a Smaland and they have a Talon. And on Trenlas' team, well, it's not actually as bad as it could have been, because they have at least one, because Trenlas is playing a Radar Minotaur, but most Minotaurs don't run the radar consumable. They take the smoke screen instead. They do have another ship on the team that probably has a radar, the American destroyer, the USS Black, the tier 9. It probably does have radar, because its only other 2 consumable choices in the radar slot are defensive AA, which is worthless, and engine boost, which isn't worthless, but it's not as useful as a radar. So despite the matchmaker's best attempts, this is actually probably going to be a fairly fair fight, with both teams probably, almost certainly, having 2 radar, although no thanks to the matchmaking. Speaking of which, tier 10 battle, arms race mode, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious. And we're here on the Warrior's Path map. So the difference between arms race and a regular battle, it's not that there are no cap circles. There's also these buffs that ships on the team can pick up. Both teams have already managed to grab themselves a reload buff, so that's going to be good news all round. And thanks to the fact that both teams also have 3 destroyers, even though the Minotaur is pretty stealthy for a cruiser with a detection range of only 10 kilometers, that's still only pretty stealthy for a cruiser. It's absolutely terrible compared to destroyer stealth. So Trenlas isn't going to have to grab those buffs himself. He should be able to rely on the team destroyers to do it for him. The other bummer about the matchmaking is because this is an arms race battle, there aren't any cap circles. Well, they kind of are, but they kind of aren't. There certainly aren't any at the moment. In an arms race battle, 1 cap circle will appear in the middle of the map, and at the moment, it's not going to appear for another 5 minutes. Once it does appear, the team that manages to take it has basically won the game, because you start accumulating like 10 points every 3 seconds, or possibly even faster than that. But even if you're behind on points, once you take that cap, you're going to go ahead on points real fast. The issue, of course, is that the central cap circle starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, forcing the ships to fight at increasingly close quarters in order to maintain control or contest that single cap. Honestly, I think it's a really, really good mechanic, and it just adds a little bit of variety to the standard battle rotation. The problem, of course, is that, well, in a Radar Minotaur, oh, and the team have just lost their Sejong. That's unfortunate. The Sejong is the tier 9 Pan-Asian light cruiser, and it's a very, very capable ship. Losing that this early on in the battle is not going to be good news. Trenlas switching his fight to the Schlieffen over there after doing a reasonable amount of damage to the Minnesota, but the Schlieffen has worse armour, and these 6-inch armour-piercing shells will do more damage to a Schlieffen. But the issue about the lack of cap circles, at least initially, in an arms race battle, definitely reduces the effectiveness of a ship like a Radar Minotaur. Because ordinarily on this map, what you would be doing would be moving the ship up into island cover, which is basically more or less what he's done, but within radar range of the cap circles to help out the team's destroyers and discourage the enemy destroyers from taking the caps. But, well, it's arms race. There isn't a cap circle, at least not yet. So, that's the thing. Schlieffen's disappeared, switching his fire back. Oh no, the Schlieffen's back up again. So, as a British light cruiser, the Minotaur has a number of things going for it and a number of things going against it. First, it doesn't get access to high explosive ammunition. It's armor-piercing only, so he's not going to be setting any fires, which is a bit of a bummer because light cruisers traditionally tend to rely on their 6-inch high explosive ammunition to be able to do effective damage to things like battleships. However, to compensate for this, the Minotaur gets improved armor penetration angles on its 6-inch armor-piercing shells, which all sounds very complicated, but all you really need to know is that at angles where a lot of other ships' 6-inch armor piercing would just ricochet, the Minotaur's doesn't. You still have to hit armor that you can actually penetrate, but you don't have to worry as much about ricochets. Oh, and they've just lost the black as well, so they're definitely now down to 1 radar. The enemy team, 2-kill lead, and they have a 2 radar advantage. This is not particularly great, but it's not the end of the world. We can compensate for this. At the moment, Trenlas just trying to farm as much damage as possible without getting spotted, because he is in a light cruiser. Oh yeah, that's the other thing about British light cruisers. They're light even by the standard of other light cruisers. Their armour is so bad you don't need to be in a battleship to be able to citadel them from any angle. Heavy cruisers can do it too. Oh, and the team have just lost their Admiral Hipper. What the hell is going on? They're 3 kills down and nearly 200 points behind. Okay, good news. The Njord, I think that was the Dockyard Tier 9 battleship. He has taken down the Monarch, but it's cost him almost all of his health in the process. He just sucked on a whole bunch of torpedoes. He's probably burned his damage control and is probably trying to recover some health, but extremely vulnerable, getting shot at and sunk by the enemy Siegfried. So the team are once again 3 kills and not far short of 200 points behind. And that central cap circle is about to appear in slightly more than a minute. Meanwhile, Trenlas is about to demonstrate precisely why most Minotaur captains take the smokescreen. He just got spotted, and the Minnesota is looking right at him. He guns the throttle, and the Minotaur does a fantastic acceleration characteristics. If not for which... yeah, that hurt. But if not for the Minotaur's fantastic acceleration, he would have probably eaten every single one of those shells, and he would be dead now. Fortunately, the Minotaur does have an excellent heal, which he is instantly putting to work. Oh, there's the Schmarland. Okay, now that is definitely a radar-equipped destroyer. And he's caught the friendly L'Aventurier well within radar range, so there's no way that friendly destroyer can get out of here. He has to stand and fight. The good news for the L'Aventurier... Oh, he's dead. Okay, so there is no good news for the L'Aventurier, but let's just say the Schmarland's decision to get into a gunfight with an enemy destroyer while within shooting range and vision range of a Minotaur was not a particularly smart... I mean, I don't know, maybe they just blundered into each other. There was a slim chance that the L'Aventurier might have survived that, but there was no way the Schmarland was going to, not with both a L'Aventurier and a Minotaur shooting at him. As it happens, I suppose the Schmarland did the best that he could under the circumstances, and he at least made sure that he took the L'Aventurier down. Also, somebody else, I think it was the Shikishima, did manage to sink an enemy cruiser. I think he took down the Shill. Ooh, and then the Vittorio Veneto in the middle distance over there just chowed down on a whole bunch of torpedoes. But hey, it was an extra kill. It's good news, isn't it? It's not bad news, but it's certainly not great news, because they are still 2 kills behind. Although the scores for the moment are even. Although I don't think that friendly Vittorio Veneto was... he's dead. It's the kiss of death, isn't it? I mean, they call it the Jingles effect. Every time I open my mouth, something goes wrong. I really need to learn to shut up. Oh well, they're 3 kills behind again. Although, I mean, it's not that bad a points difference. And there are a bunch of low health enemy ships. The Talon over there just took a big hit, and it is the enemy team's... and he's gone down. Hooray! So the enemy team are now bereft of radar. They've lost both of their radar ships. Unfortunately, I'm not sure swapping a Talon for a Slava is a good trade. Slava's an incredibly good battleship, but, well, either way, he's dead. There are now only 5 ships remaining on Trenlass's team against 8 enemies. The points difference isn't that bad, though, which is kind of surprising. Oh, and the central cap is now available. The Halland on the team's only remaining destroyer, is preventing the enemy team from actually capping it. He's there in the south of the cap circle, and the enemy carrier has aircraft looking for him, but the Halland is clinging on for dear life. Right now, the Halland is pretty much the only thing preventing Trenlass's team from losing, because they're in no position, outnumbered as they are, to actually claim that cap. And there's a time to lurk behind islands and farm damage, and then there's a time to support your teammates regardless of the risk. He needs to be shooting at the Schlieffen to save the Halland. Oh crap, he's spotted. Oh no, we're good, we're good. Oh, the Minnesota, he got detected. The Minnesota, I'm going to get you. He was looking to capitalise on what he... I mean, that was a 30,000 damage salvo the Minnesota scored on me. Oh, hang on a second. These torpedoes are looking good. These torpedoes are looking very good. He's got the Schlieffen. That's his second kill. And that was a critical kill. I mean, it's not so much the number of the kills, although the number of the kills is good. It's the quality of the kills, because the Schlieffen was chasing down the Halland right out of that cap circle. So that's taken... Well, it's taken some of the pressure off the Halland, not all. The enemy cargo has dive bombers overhead and is finishing off, or attempting to finish off, the job that the Schlieffen started. But the pressure is now off the Halland, and that Siegfried definitely needs to die. And like I said, there's a time to hide behind islands and farm damage. And there's a time to kill ships regardless of the potential risk. Fortunately, the kill on the Siegfried over there, I mean, it's all down to his positioning. He's aware that that Minnesota is a massive threat. But look at where he is. The only thing that was actually spotting him there was the Siegfried itself. And then the Siegfried moved behind an island and nobody was spotting him. And even if the Minnesota had been loaded for bear and waiting, he was out of position. There was nothing he could do. He's going to get spotted here by the Christopher Colombo, but the Christopher Colombo's guns aren't even pointing this way, and once again the Minnesota is on the far side of a very big island. Hang on, where did he go? Did he pop his high-speed smoke? Oh, you can only tell when you're zoomed out. Oh, this is good. I mean, it's not great. He doesn't actually have a target to lock onto and shoot at, but, well, you can see where the smoke screen is. You've got a fairly good idea of where the Christopher Colombo is. Unfortunately, the cargo's just managed to get another kill. There goes the Shikushima. There's now only 4 of them left against 6 enemies. Christopher Colombo's high-speed smoke, of course, only works as long as he's not firing. He is looking this way, so Trenlass is going to have to juggle his positioning, while at the same time trying to concentrate the maximum possible amount of firepower on what is at the moment a very vulnerable enemy battleship. Further good news, the friendly carrier, the Theseus, has just managed to burn to death one of the 2 remaining enemy destroyers. He's taken down the Cossack. The Cossack is a good ship, so that's a valuable kill. The enemy team are now only 1 kill ahead. Trenlass has an opportunity to equalise here if they can finish off with... no, they've lost the carrier. When am I going to learn? There's the high caliber award, 189,000 damage. They have to kill this guy. They cannot afford to let him get away. They're probably... oh, they've lost the Jarsveld. They really have to kill this guy. There's now only 2 of them left. Trenlass and the Halland. Oh no, the Venezia season. Actually, maybe... no, he's not going to be alright. You see, the Venezia has a very, very long... something like a 15-second reload. Here it comes. Semi-armor piercing. This could hurt. That did hurt. Could have hurt a lot worse. Trenlass was probably hoping, counting, that the Venezia had fired and he would be able to go undetected before the Venezia could reload and shoot at him. But with the cargo's aircraft overhead, that wasn't ever going to happen. Now, what's the Minnesota do? Whoa, Venezia had just missed. Must have just lost target lock as Trenlass went undetected before unloading that armor-piercing salvo. That could have been dangerous. But what's the Minnesota up to? Because he knows that Trenlass is here, and he's obviously trying to... is he trying to sneak around the side there and finish off the job that he started earlier? Trenlas dumped some torpedoes and hoping that the Minnesota is stupid enough to fall for it. He did, of course, get spotted there, not by the Minnesota. He's actually inside shooting range of the Venezia. That's the guy who's spotting him for the Minnesota. The thing is, the Minnesota was actually turning away from those torpedoes, but Trenlas getting himself spotted here, whether he was doing it deliberately or had no other choice, because even though the Venezia has popped its high-speed smoke and therefore can't see out of the smoke screen, Trenlas is still getting spotted by the Karga's torpedo bombers. And the fact that Trenlas was spotted probably encouraged the Minnesota to think, haha, I'm going to get you. And then ran into his torpedoes. And there's the Kraken unleashed. Trenlas getting absolutely smacked there by another huge salvo from the Venezia. He's got his hydro running, his radar is on cooldown, he's bought himself a couple of seconds of breathing space with the Karga's aircraft no longer overhead, but now he's so close to the Venezia. Smoke or no smoke, now they're close enough to see each other. The hydro is running, so he does see the Venezia's torpedoes. And let's not forget, the Halland is here as well. Oh, good man, there it is. And that, well, that leaves the Jaeger and, of course, the Karga. Oh, now those are not Venezia torpedoes. And, of course, somebody is in the cap circle. And it could be the Karga, but let's face it, it's probably going to be the Jaeger. So the Jaeger is the Tier 9 Austro-Hungarian destroyer that's basically made out of torpedoes and is incredibly stealthy. However, as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is an arms race battle and it's slightly different from random battle or domination battle. For a start, there is no cap circle for the first 6 minutes or so of the game, at which point a very big one appears right in the middle of the map. And then it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means you can stay in this cap circle at the risk of getting dangerously close to people looking for you in it. And in 12 seconds, Trenlas is going to have his radar back up. For now he's just enjoying shooting at the Karga. There's the Confederate award. Yep, payback is a bitch. He's also paying attention to the RPF indicator, which is telling him that the Karga is... There he is, there's the Jaeger. Right. Caught by a radar Minotaur at a range of around 6 kilometers. Bend over, grab your ankles, and prepare to kiss your ass goodbye. Honestly, the rate of fire of this thing is just terrifying. Obviously, the Jaeger's redumped his torpedoes, but too little, too late. Day late, dollar short, Jaeger down, kill number 6. And where do you think you're going, sunshine? Still got his aircraft up, but he doesn't have to worry about dodging Jaeger torpedoes now, so he can turn into those. And that just allows him to get all of his guns firing at the Karga. We're up to 314,000 damage done. And there's kill number 7 and victory for Trenlas once again in the radar Minotaur. Not quite a game of throws, even though at one point Trenlas's team were, I think, 4 kills and 200 points behind. Sneaky little AA Defence Expert award there, but it's not difficult to get that when you're fighting a Karga. Its aircraft have very few hit points and come in huge squadrons, so it's actually quite easy to get that award with a Karga on the enemy team. Confederate, of course, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, even though he got 7, not 5 kills, and High Caliber with 319,000 damage done, and absolutely nobody will be surprised to see that that was a 3,000, actually nearly a 3,700 base XP game. And extremely well done also to the Halland. If not for him contesting that cap circle and preventing the enemy team from taking it and winning on points, well, this might have ended differently. But he did, and he bought enough time for Trenlas to actually seal the deal with those 7 kills. So well done to both of them for an extremely well-played game. And if you want to see more like this, he does, of course, stream regularly on Twitch. Link to his channel down below in the video description. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.